Hi, it's Sandy, your sister and your friend. Welcome to today's video. It's been a while since I've been posting anything on YouTube due to being diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia and then having surgery to correct that. Because there's something that happened so dramatic with me regarding consciousness directly after my surgery, is something I really wanted to share with you. In case you've never heard of trigeminal neuralgia, and not many people have, it's commonly called the suicide disease due to the severity of the pain that comes along with it. It's a condition where a blood vessel or vein or an artery presses against the trigeminal nerve on one side of the face or the other. So my symptoms started appearing on the left side of my face about 6 months ago. And I'm familiar with the condition because I had it about 12 years ago on the right side of my face. And for that, I had had micro-decompression surgery where they separate that vein from the trigeminal nerve through drilling a hole in your skull and going in with micro instruments to separate the nerve from the vein. Now, I went to see the neurosurgeon, and he suggested that we do the same procedure now on my left side. It's a very uncommon neurological condition, and it's extremely rare for it to occur bilaterally. And so 12 days ago, I did have the surgery for this microdecompression, and which of course required general anesthesia. Since my body has a very difficult time tolerating narcotics, it wasn't unusual for me to expect that I would have severe nausea and vomiting immediately following surgery while my body tried to expel the narcotics, that in this case was fentanyl, from my body. The surgeons had also alerted me to the fact that I would have extreme headaches because to complete the surgery, they had to drain all the cranial spinal fluid from around my brain. So this is how I set off my immediate experience following surgery. My immediate 36 hours following surgery were filled with great deal of nausea, vomiting, and headaches. As I tried to sleep, I realized that I was having rampant thoughts that made me feel like my mind was spinning out of control. In my mind, I was surrounded by throngs of people, none of whom that I could identify, and they were all talking to me at the same time. I was busy making lists, looking at the list, tearing it up, and starting out making a new list. I couldn't tell what was really going on, but it felt very busy and very frantic in my mind. I wasn't sure if I was asleep having terrible dreams or if I was awake having hallucinations that were related to getting rid of the fentanyl out of my system. Then I paused and I evaluated what I just described to you, and I realized that I wasn't the person there having those dreams or those hallucinations. I was the person observing the one who was having them. This was a moment where I actually stepped back into my true self, into conscious awareness, and I felt a peace flood over me. This is actually because I'm one with God. This is a place where that oneness, I could feel this oneness with Him. I could feel myself being engulfed and totally in love and in a higher plane than I was before. And because I was just out of surgery, I could feel the row of stitches behind my ear. I knew that I was going to have nausea because of the fentanyl that I had been given. So I knew all those things were real, but I also knew, I knew those things had happened, but I also knew that these thoughts that were running in my mind were not real. These were not the real me. And because that conscious awareness knows me, God knows me better than I know myself, He gave me a higher thing to think on. He knows that I like to contemplate spiritual topics. And so what he did is he invited me into a higher type of thinking, a higher place to think, that would give me peace and give peace to my soul during this time. And it worked amazingly. So the assignment that consciousness gave me was to contemplate the verse that reads in the Bible, that reads, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. And how possibly could the God who is love say that he hated someone who was still in his mother's womb? Well, I laughed. I had to chuckle right then and there with God, knowing that this is something that I would be able to ponder, knowing the story of Jacob and Esau pretty well. And I could think about this as I was during the whole recovery period. He knew that this is something that would give me great joy, would bring peace and satisfaction to my soul while I was recovering from these other things that were going on. So that what that meant is that I could allow whatever dreams, whatever nightmares, whatever hallucinations, they could continue on in the background, because that's not where I was going to be hanging out during the rest of my recovery period. I was going to be in this higher place and thinking on things that were higher thoughts. But again, I didn't resist the fact that these were going on. I was still nauseous and I was still having headaches. But those things weren't as much as in control. They weren't in control because I was experiencing them, but they weren't the driving force in what was going on for me. So instead of being caught up in these noisy thoughts and the negative energy that's associated with them, I was in a much better place. And consciousness really is the whole reason that I was able to go there. So for me, this proved that conscious awareness, or our true self, doesn't get caught up in anything that's happening in the world that we're living in at any moment. And that includes the positive things as well as the negative things. Those things, our true self does not get attached to those things. And so those things can just come through us. As a matter of fact, what it does instead, as I've just suggested for myself in this case, is that it helps us get through these things, knowing who we truly are. So I have to say the outcome of my surgery appears to be successful, and for that I am forever in gratitude to God. I know that I was never alone, so actually I had no fear going into the surgery or anything during this recovery period, which I'm still undergoing. So this is the most important thing that I have learned about conscious awareness. Conscious awareness helped me get beyond the frantic thoughts and period of time that I was in, even while nothing changed about my circumstances. I was still having severe nausea and terrible headaches, but conscious awareness had shown up for me and given me an assignment to think on that was higher than what I was going through. And it was specific to what would bring me joy and peace in the middle of circumstances. That's how much our consciousness, our oneness with God, that's how much it knows. It shows up for us personally to give us things to do that are personally designed to help us. So if you're going through tough times, please know that the God who is the giver of all life, who is the Father of all, is the source of all life, that He loves you and He is there to help you. If you've never done it before, you can call Him by whatever name that you know Him by, or her by, and just say, please God, or whatever. You can say it in your mind, you can say it out loud. None of that matters to Him. He just wants you to know that He's there and to call on Him. So if you hear voices in your head telling you crazy things, like my head was happening in my head, or if you hear voices telling you to harm yourself or to harm someone else, please know that those voices are not yours, that your true self would never express itself in that way, in any way that would harm you or harm anybody else. So just if you can let that go, if that happens to you, and just please God, He will meet you exactly where you are, and He will give you exactly what you need to help pull yourself out of that. If you've never thought of yourself as a higher being, other than the one who's walking here on this earth, please know that you are. The God of the universe thinks that you're so worthy. He values everything about you. There's nothing about you that He doesn't know, and He loves you with an unconditional, all-encompassing love. You may, in order to see this about yourself, you may have to let go of stories that you've been told by other people. Those stories may be that you're separated from God until you do something or pray a special prayer. Let me just tell you, there's no way you can be separated from God. You never have been, and you never will be. He is always there for you, and He's always just waiting to help you in any way that you need help. He loves you so much. So I hope my story of how conscious awareness helped me survive and get through in a very great, in a way that's so amazing, it's hard for me to even wrap my head around it. And yet I know that if He can show up for me in that drug-induced state, He can show up for anybody, no matter what they're going through. So don't let your circumstances define your life. Know that you're a higher being. Know that you're greatly loved and you're greatly valued. So I hope this story helps you. And I just want you to know how much I love you, how much I love being in God's family with you. And just look around and know how you are blessed abundantly, and just enter His courts with thanksgiving and praise. I love you so much. Until next time, bye-bye. Well, in case you noticed that my video looks a little different today than it has in the past, I want to give a shout out to my grandson who is helping me do some video editing. So I just wanted to tell Andrew how much I appreciate him helping out his grandmother, and is it amazing what this next generation is going to be able to accomplish. So thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.